loose. I shouldn't just one hand be able to wiggle it around. The rubber here is shot. And we can no longer move it anywhere. Hey guys, and welcome to Doing Things Dan's Way. So this time we have the Ford C-Max here again, and what I've noticed here is that the engine mount in the back is shot. It acts kind of like a shock absorber. The engine sits on two mounts left and right, and there's one in the back center that keeps the whole engine from twisting. And when you step on the gas and step on the brake, that whole motor is going to twist back and forth. And this is what the mount looks like in the back, and it's supposed to have this nice solid rubber seal around it. I'm looking at mine, and I can see that there's cracking under there. When I wiggle it back and forth, I can see a crack opening up, and it's just way too easy to just wobble the motor back and forth. And the other symptom is when I brake, when I take off, I can hear these kind of clicky sounds coming from in the engine, and I'm guessing that's the engine like twisting hard left and right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to put the emergency brake on, throw it in forward, throw it in reverse, and just take a look at how much the engine actually moves when we're simulating driving. So as you can see there, that was way too much motion, and we do need to replace this shock. So there's good news, there's only like 5 bolts to take out, and they're all 15 millimeter. So it's not too bad. So besides the engine mount, and I have a link in the description down below to Amazon where you can get this just sent out to you in a couple of days. So besides that, you're gonna need a bunch of 15 millimeter things. You're gonna need a breaker bar with a 15 millimeter socket. You're going to need a torque wrench that can get to 95 foot-pounds to put things back together again. And you're going to need a 15 millimeter wrench or spanner, and also a second one, because we're going to be doing one of these tricks where we take the wrench like so, and we're going to push down on it to give us basically a long-handled wrench, because one of the bolts you'll see is tucked way up in the back and is almost impossible to get to with any kind of ratcheting thing or with a breaker bar. So this was my trick to get a long enough wrench to be able to get it going. So let's jump under there and see how to get it done. Don't go away. This is Doing Things Dan's Way. Now, one other tool that would be nice to have is a ratcheting wrench. These make it really easy when you have limited ability to move up there to be able to get something undone, as well as not having the space behind it for a socket. So these are really nice, especially if they have a ratcheting or a pivoting head, because then you can get up there and just, find a nice soft angle that's easy to work with, and you can just spin things off, short of just doing this and killing your fingers. So another thing that I would recommend, I'll probably put a link below for the set that I have here. Okay, now I was under here already, so I already have the bottom cover off of this car. So you will need to remove the whole bottom panel that's under here, which is basically a series of 13 clips to remove. So once you have this removed, what we're looking at here is this piece right here. So that mount is sitting in there just like this. And it looks like that. And it would seem like you could just remove this bolt here and this bolt there, and it would come out. The problem is there's not enough clearance in this gap, and you can't just raise the motor. I tried raising this up and it just simply lifted the whole car. There's not enough compliance in it. And so short of actually removing the engine mounts, I just don't see that as a great option. Ultimately, you can just take this bolt, and this one right back up there. You can take that one off. So that's what we're going to do. Now the trick is that one back there is a real bear to get to. These 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can use our bar for. So let's go ahead and get those off first, and then I'll show you how you can get to that one in back there by stacking up wrenches. So here I have a 15 millimeter socket on a 1/2 inch breaker bar. I'm going to go through and basically break 1, 2, 3 bolts free with this. This one's going to be a little harder to get to. That's one. Okay, this one, I think I can get in here like this. Yeah, just barely. Okay, that's enough. Now I can use a ratcheting wrench and get back in there and just run it off. So these three here that attach the black steel piece here to the transmission or transaxle, these are all the same. These two here are unique. Two. Okay, now ideally you'd be able to get this out right now, but there's just no way. I mean, I could cut this tab off and probably pull it out off the side maybe, but that doesn't work well. Okay, now let's get at that bolt in the back there. Okay, so this is the bolt we're trying to get to. Up behind the mount. It's like almost perfectly underneath it. So the trick I found is you come under here like this with your first wrench. You grab your second wrench and you nestle it on just like that, and then now you have this nice long wrench like this, because you can't grab that spot and just pull from there, and beating on this with a hammer just doesn't seem to work. So this little setup here works quite well. So I give this a good strong tug. Okay. And do that a couple times. Now, you can't get back up in there because you haven't gone like far enough. Like you've bottomed out here, but there's not enough teeth in your socket. You can come up this side and get to it. And if you're lucky, you've broken it free enough. Broken this free enough, or you can beat on this, or again, you can do the double socket trick. Just like this. Get on there like that. And then here, we're gonna shove away from us here. Okay. That felt like it loosened a lot. So now I can get in here with the ratcheting wrench. Right way. Okay. So you can see how my hand is. I found you can see this is a really long bolt, and you can see that little eye loop right there I'm pointing to. If this bolt is going to run into that, but keep in mind I can push the whole motor back and forth to give myself space, so you can get up under there. I'll be able to actually unscrew this by hand, kind of. That's super tiring. At some point, you're going to see the wrench is going to get captive. It's going to start pushing on that ring, and that's part of the rack and pinion. So we don't really want to mash on that. We're going to be mindful of it. But at some point, we're going to start pushing the engine. So this is a really long bolt. Okay, now it's getting tight because I'm jamming against that. So here, we can rotate the engine out of the way so that we can pull this off. Okay. Now I'm gonna get my head out of the way because this might drop. Just push the engine and try and rock that bolt out of there. There it goes. And then this stuff's just gonna come all falling out. And hey, look at there. There's our mount. Holy smokes. Yeah, it is totally separated. Let me get in some better light, but you can see the crack. This whole side's separated. I mean, just with my thumb, I can move it around easily. So this was not doing a whole lot. So reassembly is the opposite of assembly. Make sure the thick side is on the driver's side of the car. Just gonna slide that up in there for now. We gotta get our bracket back up in there. Okay. Stick an easy one on first here. Here I'm having to pull back on the motor to get that bolt in straight, get it going. Okay, so these are all just hand tightened. Now, what I do is put a wrench on here so I can just push and pull and get this last engine in place. Okay, now let's see the difference. I can't even move it. Wow, that's a huge difference from before when one hand I could get the whole thing just oscillating. Okay, now the last set of steps to torque these all down to 125 Newton meters, which is about 95 foot-pounds. And so these three are easy to get to. I don't know if I can get to this one with my torque wrench, and I definitely can't get to the one in the back. So I'm just gonna stack up the wrenches and push real hard. So let's set this guy to 95 foot-pounds. Okay, that's 90 because we're right on the line and we're lined up with 0. So we're gonna go up to 5, 3, 4. Okay, 95. I don't really have a way of getting that in there, so I'm just gonna go back to the breaker. Okay, that's plenty. Okay, that's tight. That one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. We're done. And we can no longer move it anywhere. Let's go back and repeat that test where I put it in emergency brake and I drive forward and drive back and see how much the motor moves this time. Well, there we have it. This guy is obviously shot, and I can no longer even budge the engine in there. Now, it'll probably soften up a little bit. But if you can reach under there and you can wiggle your motor, this guy is shot, and you're likely causing damage to other components, or at least stress. There's a link in the description down below to pick one of these up. It was less than 30 bucks, so totally worth it. Hey, so I have a whole series of videos I'm going to be doing on this car. You might have noticed there was an oil leak under there. There's a valve cover leak, and I have the parts right there. I'm going to be installing on it. Hopefully tomorrow or the next day I'll get a video out for that. So hit a link up here for other videos and a playlist basically for C-Max related content. And until next time, guys, be blessed.